Let's go to our main man, Jeff Kerr, set to join us here on Birds 365. You can follow him at Jeff Kerr, CBS, and read all his work at cbssports.com. The great Jeff Kerr. How you doing this Monday morning, brother? Good to see you.
I heard the sky was falling with the Phillies season. I guess it's back on track.
It's back on? Yeah. I thought it was over. I can't keep up with it, Jeff.
We were having a lot of us writers were laughing in the press box yesterday about a Matt Gelb story that came out about he wrote a feature on Zach Wheeler, right? It was an awesome piece, by the way. If you're a Phillies fan, I suggest you read it. But, he was talking about Wheeler retiring in 2027 after the 2027 season when this contract ends, which Zach Wheeler has told us for months and months and months, and has been reported for months and months and months. Yet yesterday it decided to be national news.
Why is everybody obsessed with retirements? I mean, Saquon said the same stuff recently. It's like, to me, it's pretty common sense wise. And, if he's banged up and he doesn't feel like he can perform, he wants to be one of those guys that walks away at the top of his game. Why worry about it?
Everybody is obsessed with stuff that hasn't happened yet. Perfect example. Otto Kemp's crushing it right now. Well, Phillies can't send him down when Bryce Harper comes back. That's wonderful. Bryce Harper isn't coming back for another month. They got a month.
Solve that problem when it arrives.
Exactly. I'm telling you, everybody thinks they're a GM because they play Madden. It's ridiculous.
Well, and that extends to all sports, and that'll be Jeremiah Trotter Jr. probably early this season. Hey, man, that's the luxury of playing time. Maybe you got it in a different way than you wanted to get it because of injuries, but if you play well, you can open some eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll find a spot for you. I'm sure the Eagles will find a spot for Trotter if he has a good camp.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of players like that in the Eagles right now getting playing time.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm excited about this training camp. We're going to be seeing guys that, not that they were on the bench last year, but they just didn't get a chance to play, and now they are, and we'll get to see how good they are.
Yeah, Jeff, let me ask you. We started with Johnny Mack and I started on the open of the show talking a little bit about just the sophomore players. I mean, Jeff, a lot of losses on this defense. You got Quinion, you got Cooper, you got Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who's probably going to be that week one starter, assuming the other guys are still injured, and then Jalix Hunt. A lot hinging on these guys, Jeff, and even guys like Quinion and Cooper, who I happen to be very confident on. I will admit 1 year in the NFL is not enough to be a proven player. A lot of guys there that on that sophomore class, Jeff, that need to step up this year for the Eagles defense.
Yeah, but this is what the Eagles thought when they drafted a lot of these guys, right, Zander? Like they thought Quinyon Mitchell was going to be this guy or Cooper DeJean was going to be this guy. And I think we talked about this last week. I always think it's funny how you get people around the NFL, they like to talk crap on Quinyon Mitchell, but they don't talk crap on Cooper DeJean. Because I think they know Cooper DeJean is really, really good. And they're holding reservations on Quinyon Mitchell. So this is a big year for Quinyon Mitchell, which, again, I think he'll have a good year. But, Jalix Hunt, look at what he is going to have a golden opportunity this year. If the Eagles don't have a pass rusher. And he's just one of those guys I feel.
Now, I'm gonna push back, Jeff. Who gives crap to Quinyon Mitchell?
Well, we know who's giving crap.
Defensive Rookie of the Year voting, I believe.
We do know who's giving crap. There's a certain player on the Cowboys that doesn't have to cover.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, like if you ask CD, I don't get caught up in that stuff because if you ask CD Lamb about insert name, Pat Surtain, Trent McDuffie, Derek Stingley, Jalen Johnson, who I think is the best cornerback in football. If you asked him the same thing, he'd say the same thing. If you ask AJ, he'd say the same thing. That's what always Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
I just thought it was ironic you didn't decide to pick on Cooper DeJean when you're picking on Quinyon Mitchell.
Well, I think didn't they specifically, and I don't recall, didn't they specifically ask him about Quinyon Mitchell? Like nobody asked him about Cooper. He'd say the same thing about Cooper DeJean.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he would, but they decided to pick on him. That's what I don't. Again, I wish the Cowboys would put more energy into actually winning football games than the stupid stuff they like to do.
I don't want players who aren't confident in their abilities. Generally, good NFL players are confident in their abilities. Now, Quignon's understated, very quiet, but if you ask Quignon's in there talking trash to AJ as a rookie.
Yeah, he was talking trash in mini camp last year.
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, that you have to have confidence to play that game. You have to. That stuff doesn't bother me at all. I thought you were talking about, media people or fans, or if you ask a player, boy, and they're saying, "Ooh, I don't know if I can deal with Cooper DeJean as a big time receiver in the NFL, or Quinyon Mitchell. I don't want that receiver." I mean, what are we doing?
Well, it's not even the confidence thing. It's just I just thought it was funny that you kind of stay away from
your guy Micah asked him that question. I believe specifically he asked about Quinyon Mitchell.
Yeah, didn't he say like they're saying he's Quinyanimo Bay or Quintanimo Bay or whatever it was?
And he's gonna lock you down.
It's been a while since I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it. But it's been a while.
He would have said the same thing about Cooper, and he's a very good player. Quinyon's a very good player.
CeeDee Lamb's a very
Cooper's
good player.
a very good player.
But the discourse on Quignon's interesting because as good as a player as he was last year, you can say, many will say, he's not a lockdown corner because he doesn't play man,
Well, but I would argue that every single NFL corner who plays in a predominantly zone gets that same criticism.
Yeah, they do.
And the best corners are considered the press corners. That's why Jalen Ramsey didn't like Vic Fangio's scheme. Right. Jalen Ramsey's going to the Hall of Fame because he's a press coverage corner. Jalen Johnson, why do I think he's the best corner in the NFL? Because he's a press coverage corner and he's damn good at it. Jaire Alexander, who we're going to talk about.
Don't get me started, John.
Well, I want to get Jeff started. Is a press cover corner. Those are the guys that are going to get noticed. And that's one of the, that's the give and take when you have to manage guys. Not that Quinyon can't play press coverage a lot. We don't know. I mean, he was predominantly an off coverage player at Toledo, and the Eagles drafted him because he's a great off coverage player hitting the NFL for Vic Fangio. That's what you're supposed to do.
He's doing his job and he's doing it well. I mean, I think his passer rating in the postseason was like 17 or something when quarterbacks attacked him. And I think it was in the single digits before he let up a late completion when the game was over in the Super Bowl.
Well, this is also where, sort of people and, I'm not going to pick on any, but people who don't understand what the defense is, and they'll put up little clips of, he locked down this and he locked down that, not understanding it's, cover 3 or quarters or, and what the responsibility is. So there's all that conflates it. But he's an off-cover corner. He's a damn good one, and that's what the Eagles play. That's how you're supposed to draft.
Yeah, you draft to fit your scheme. You don't draft to put a square peg in the round hole, and you don't sign free agents to put in a square peg in the round hole. The Eagles tried that once. It's called the Dream Team.
And maybe it can be a great press cover corner. You're not going to know as long as Vic's here, and who cares? Because I don't want to get rid of Vic, and I don't want to get rid of Quinyon. So who cares?
Yeah, it seems to work, right?
Yeah, worked pretty well last year.
Probably will work well again this year.
Yeah. But now let's talk about the other side because I want you to get that platform. Jaire Alexander. We see, my God, Jesus. Like what? What are we talking about? Now I don't want to pick on CBS, but I sent you that little thing.
And I laughed because I knew who it was from and what it was.
The prediction was the Eagles will sign Jaire Alexander for a 1-year, $16 million contract. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What is going on? Like, I get it. You can't, because I used to do it and be more from a national perspective. And it's tough to keep up on the nuts and bolts of 32 teams. But everything the Eagles have done this offseason has told you that they are saving cash for what's coming. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean down the road. They are setting themselves up so they can pay those players, reward those players, and keep things going in a positive
They're
direction.
rewarding their front office for drafting really good players.
Yeah, well, that's part of it too, but mainly they're really good players, and they've made this demarcation line. So I think one of the things that people don't understand, well, it's 1 year. It's not about the cap, it's about the cash. It's worse that it's 1 year because you got to pay that $16 million to them, which is going to be guaranteed, no matter what it looks like with avoidable years. Jaire Alexander's getting $16 million of cash in that circumstance. It's exactly what the Eagles don't want to do.
And I always say this. I get it. It's an all-season predictions article, but heaven forbid, let's just put the Eagles and this guy here because that will get clicks and that will get engagement time.
Yeah,
like,
that's what it is.
That's why I get upset. It's like, stop linking the Eagles to everybody. You're 0 for 20.
But well, our site's 0 for 3,000. So
if they got paid for being right though, they wouldn't have jobs, man. They're getting paid for the clicks they're bringing in. Jeff, don't hate the player.
Hey, you know what? I got great overreaction time.
I hate the game.
I got great engagement time. I do an overreactions piece, for mini camps and all this and that. But you got to put some substance to it, right? Like I put the Steelers will win 10 games with Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't seem that far fetched, does it?
No.
Yeah, and like Steelers fans loved it.
But you're 9 games. That has credibility. Like, and I'm not trying to criticize people that don't have that, but there's a lot of people that have been brought into this industry that were not hired to have credibility, or you know what I mean, or speak about anything like that.
I think this is the problem. Honestly, Zander, I think this is the problem. There's less of people like me and John that have been in the trenches, that were ingrained through the trenches, and now it's just aggregate. Yeah. And I'm not dealing with this like every day. And so there's no accountability.
No, there isn't. But again, they're hired to simply create controversy, clicks and drama. You guys are not. You guys are reporting on the teams. It's a little different.
Yeah, and look, I've been in that, the Eagles should sign this person or 3 potential targets. But I always tried to do some research to it. Like, if I'm going to do something like that, well, it's probably not a Vic Fangio fit. So probably not. I'm not going to go that route.
Well, I can't even get to that because there's too many things to get to before you talk about the fit. But, one of the things that made me roll my eyes was, it was described as after minicamp assessments. And it's like, well, after minicamp, now granted, it's only 1 day. Kelee Ringo might have had the best day of his life.
I was going to say, and I didn't even write about it because everybody else is writing about it. I'm like, well, I'll go this way. But yeah, I mentioned a little blur, like, oh, by the way, Kelee Ringo might have locked down the outside quarterback job on just 1 practice. That's my overreaction.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. I mean, he's still got to play well over the summer and all that stuff. But my only point of bringing that up is don't frame it as post. That's the worst time to talk about it because that's when he played his best. But
what bothers me about Jaire Alexander to Eagles anything is this whole offseason, John. I know you were told, I was told, they really like Kelee Ringo. This is their opportunity for Kelee Ringo. Like, this is the guy they like. This is why they moved on from X, Y, and Z. It's for Kelee Ringo. And for saving cash.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's his job by any stretch of the They want everybody to win a job, but
it's his job to lose, I would think.
There's differing degrees. Like when they were trying to spin the CJ trade to me, which again, it's about cash over cap. That part of it's real, but part of you also have to take everything, be adversarial. Obviously CJ's high maintenance personality factored into it as well.
And they're never going to admit that to you, by the way.
And it was also spun. Well, Sidney deserves a chance to compete. He's the 3rd round pick. He was really big. I don't think they like Sidney Brown as much as they lead on. Now, it's actually because of the change in defensive coordinator. I don't think he's a fit for Big Fangio, whereas when they drafted him, they loved him, but now he's not necessarily the best fit. So that's why Makuba's here, who's a better fit, at least from a playing perspective, trade standpoint for what Big wants to do. So sometimes they, blow a little smoke up. There's no doubt about that. And you got to be adversarial about it. But they do like Ringo a lot. And, if you think about it, they traded up in the 4th round when they drafted him. He's the youngest player in the NFL. He's younger than most of the cornerbacks that got drafted this year.
I don't even think he's 23.
Third. He's 23, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he turns 23 this month, right? And then Quinyon's a year older than him, turns 24.
It's amazing. And he's got 2 years now of learning, 1 year of learning under Vic and Christian Parker. That's exactly what they want. Cost-effective guy for 2 years while you're paying Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith next year, and then the year after, Quinyon and Cooper. It's exactly what they want. And I'm stunned that people can't figure it out. They signed 12 stinking guys this offseason, Jeff. All of them, 1 year.
Yep. And not for a lot of money. Like, who was their highest free agent? Was it Aziz Ujulari?
Aziz, yeah.
Yeah.
And even that's it was when it came out, it was 1 year, $3.5 million, but really it's 1 year up to $3.5 million. It's not even that high.
Think about this. If Devin White signed for the contract he signed last year, he'd be their biggest free agent sign.
Oh yeah. He got up to 7 in it. He was another guy. He was 1 year up to $7.5 million. I forget. He got maybe 4.
I said when they signed Ujulari and Uchi, I'm like, well, okay, there's got to be another move coming, right? But if they don't make a move, both of them make this team, right?
Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it unless they completely crap the bed in training camp. Ojulari got 1 year, $3 million, which is fully guaranteed.
Okay. But still, though, it's not a lot of money.
No. They can move on from him easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
And Uchi, what was it, 1.6? That sound right?
Uche was, I'll look it up because that's, remember you have the reported part of it and then the real part of it. I'm trying to get the real part.
You mean the agent part?
Yeah. You get the agent part and then the real part. I can't find Uche. Why can't I find him?
Maybe it doesn't exist.
He's got to. Well, I'm looking at the top 51. He's got to be in the top 51. Yeah, there he is. Because the top 51 rule applies in the offseason. He signed a 1 year, $1.92 million deal with $1.25 million guaranteed.
Yeah, not a lot of money.
Yeah,
but if you can get, the way Lane Johnson talked them up last week, if you can get 5 sacks out of that guy,
not only. By the way, not only Lane, Jeff, but also Zach Bond brought him up.
Bond did too.
Unprompted, both of them. Unprompted. That always holds weight with me when guys are brought up unprompted.
I was glad I followed up with Lane too because I caught wind of that. He mentioned him unprompted. You're mentioning the 2023 opener. I remember Josh Uche was giving them problems at the opener, and I said, "So, what was it?" And Lane just went on a tangent.
Yeah. So I think I'm a little bit, and it matters as well that it's Lane Johnson. Like when AJ tells me something, I always say it matters more.
Right.
Yeah. It matters when it's Lane Johnson.
Yeah, the guy stonewalls 99% of edge rushers in the NFL. If he says there's a guy that's pretty good, I think he can take it to the bank.
Yeah, that's how.
Another player I want to ask you about, Jalen Hunt. I mean, last year this guy was a project player with, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, Brandon Graham, all in front of him. Now he's like the starting edge rusher, and the defense needs him to thrive in year 2. I mean, are you confident in that player, or do you have doubts on Jalen Hunt coming into year 2?
I'm more confident in the player, but if said player gets hurt, that's where I worry because that's what bothers me about this whole thing. And I remember I told you guys this last week. Like, I don't have a problem with Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt as your starting edge rushers. You want to go with that, fine. You want to go with Ujari and Uchi as your backups, fine. But one of them gets hurt, you're in a pickle. It's like,
what do you mean? You got the other guys.
The other guy, yeah. So Mark Wahlberg's coming.
Yeah, that's a great movie, by the way. People should watch that.
Yeah, John and I like to quote the other guys a lot at Eagles practices.
Let me add that to my growing list of things I have to watch.
Zander, this is what I'm going to compare this to because I do cover 2 sports. The Eagles edge rushers are like the Phillies bullpen. On paper, you love them, right? But if one of them goes down or suspended, Jose Alvarado, all of a sudden you got a problem.
Yep, that's true. I see that. I can see what you're saying there.
So yeah, that's what it is. And look, guys can step up. Obviously, like I'll compare it again. Phillies, Ryan Kerkering has stepped up. Perfect example. I mean, Ujari and Uchi could step up, fine, or one of the other guys, fine. But it's still going to be a problem that's going to linger. And I don't know if you can win a championship with how it's currently constructed.
Patrick Johnson, baby,
who's back? How many times has he left? Once?
Just once. Yeah, he was here for a while, and then he got.
He was one of the last cuts last year, wasn't he, John?
Yeah, well, he made the team. Then he got cut in September, probably week 2-ish.
Yeah, then he went to the Giants.
They knew he was going to get claimed, and he got claimed by the Giants. That to me was a mistake because he's a good player and he's versatile. You know, he's a great special teams player. He can rush from the edge, and he played all-ball linebacker a little bit as well.
I always forget who he got cut for. Who did they promote? Was it Paris Campbell?
That I'd have to look at.
I thought it was the week like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith were hurt, and they kind of needed
Nick Gates.
Oh, it was Nick Gates.
It was an offensive lineman, and then we were like, yeah, the offensive lineman didn't get used. Meanwhile, they needed Patrick Johnson.
Yeah.
They needed Patrick Johnson.
Well, I think our buddy Ed Kratz didn't mind that move.
Yeah, Nick Gates is a great dude, but I mean, well, that was one of the problems they did. It's one of those things when they brought in Nick. I think it was a wink deal with Howie that said, "All right, we're gonna cut you to manipulate the roster at the initial 53, and then we're gonna bring you back because they needed a backup center. They felt they needed a backup center, and I think that was always in the works. It was like because they signed him a little bit later in training camp, veteran guy, a lot of experience. And I think there was sort of a wink deal.
I remember and Nick confirmed this to me, like the terms of their contract, it was, okay, we're signing you. We're promising you a promotion from the practice squad to the active roster in week 1 and 2, and then we're going to sign you. So yeah, that checked it out.
Yeah. And he, stuck around for the whole season. Got cut right before the Super Bowl, I think. Didn't he?
Was it the Super Bowl we got cut, or was it the NFC Championship? It was around that time.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
they
they took care of him, no doubt.
He was in the locker room celebrating.
Very, very good dude. Yeah. But anyway, that's what happened. They put him on injured reserve because they needed the spot for Brandon, and they put him on injured reserve. Came up with that Bantam injury.
All right, guys, let me ask you this: which defense at this point in the year had more questions, this year's defense or last year's defense? I feel because I heard I think it was Zach Bowen on that Exciting Mike's podcast with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, with Reed Blankenship, sorry, and he said it feels like we're way ahead of where we were last year. And I do remember, before the season started, me, John, and everybody else on the planet had a whole lot of questions about the Eagles defense coming off the collapse. I think rightfully so. But it feels like even with questions right now, they are way lesser than what they were last year. What do you guys think?
It is funny you say that, Zander, because I remember you guys, I said this is a top 15 defense. It's probably a Super Bowl team. Well, they ended up first. So
First by
Number
like
one, yeah.
Yeah.
I said the same thing. If it was a top half defense, they'd be a significant contender. And they ended up number one.
I think there's less questions because I think we have more answers.
Well, here's how I phrase it, because I got asked that same question on the radio this weekend. And here's how for guys who were here like Zach, I think he's 100% right. They know the system. They're comfortable with the system. And him specifically, he was playing a new position. He's much more comfortable. So for the guys who were here, but there's tremendous turn, and the guys who were playing too, not even just about being here, but the guys who were playing. But there's tremendous turnover. So to me, it's like half and half. It's like, well, yes, the guys who are here and playing are much more comfortable than the uncertainty of a new defensive coordinator, sometimes new position, sometimes guys not playing before. But you still have to replace guys who were tremendous in this particular system. Milton, Josh, Slay, Isaiah, CJ, Oren Burks. That's the problem. The guys who are here, yeah, they're much more comfortable. But now that's a daunting list of players considering the way they played last season to have to replace at the same type of level.
Yeah, and I do think, John, I'm sure you've talked to Mike Gill a lot about this. You remember the one day Mike Gill came on here, Jeff Kerr, with a gallon of gasoline and a lighter.
He's a radio host. He's good at that.
I mean, even all the guys though that we feel good about, he's like Zach Bond, 1 year player. Quinyon Mitchell's played good 1 year. Cooper DeJean, 1 year. Jalen Hunt, Nolan Smith, 1 year. And I'm like, holy shit, Mike Gill, you got questions on every spot on the defense.
He's right. He was ready, man. It's, if he had the hornet's nest, he was ready to throw it at you.
Yes, he was.
Well, I mean, they're fair critiques. I mean, I've said the same thing about, and I just said it about Quinyon. He might be a better player this year, but have a worse season by perception. Same with Zach Bond. How is Zach Bond going to live up to what he did last year? Might be a better player.
I think he was the first player in NFL history with like 150 tackles and 5 forced fumbles or something crazy like that.
You really think he's going to replicate that?
No. I mean, even Saquon, we talk about all the time. He's not going to rush for 2,500 yards. I don't know what he's going to rush for, but I'm taking the under on that. You know what, John? He might have the John McMullen 2024 stat line. And people wonder what's wrong with him.
Which, by the way, was a great stat line, even though everybody shit on me.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's because of who said it, not because of the prediction.
That's true, too. But yeah, there's a natural sort of regression to me. I say the exact opposite with Jalen Hurts. He's going to be better statistically. Yeah. No doubt in my mind he's going to be better.
I think Eagles fans will really enjoy that. He's going to be better. I think AJ Brown's going to be better.
Yep.
Yeah,
well, AJ's like a watch, though. He's like a Rolex.
Keeps on ticking.
He's just great. He was great last year.
Yeah.
He missed 4 games.
I know, and he's still at 1,100 yards. Like, I feel like the conversation on AJ is off from last year, John.
I remember I posted.
I don't know anybody who doubts AJ as a player. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
No, but I have heard, and maybe I've even been one to say AJ Brown didn't have as good of a year last year as he would have liked, as the offense would have liked, as anybody would have liked.
But
I should clarify. I don't know anybody in the football world. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be the grifters and the engagement guys, but
well, AJ did make a comment middle of the year, John. I want the passing game to be better. I mean, I don't know if it's all grifting to say that AJ won.
He was asked what needs to improve. He said passing.
That's all he said.
That's all he said, and he's right. He's 100% right.
Yeah,
and the same post game press conference. That was the Carolina game, I believe.
It
Yeah,
was
but
a
so
Carolina
with
game.
that though, I don't think you can call people a grifter for saying AJ Brown wanted the ball more. I mean, clearly he had an issue with
Well,
it.
that's different than questioning his ability and his
Oh, well, I
play.
don't. Yeah, I mean anybody. that
That's what
questions
I'm
his
talking
ability-
about. Nobody questioned. Nobody in the NFL questions his ability to play. That's what I said.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Um,
don't know. I don't see anybody questioning his ability anymore. That's different than usage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
usage. Yeah, that's up. Yeah, they didn't use him. Yeah,
I do think it's telling that he missed 4 games, had 1,000 yards, and was still a second team All Pro.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's every year he's been here, he's been an All Pro. That's all you need to know.
That's the opposite of disrespect. We often hear about the disrespect. Yeah, because there are much higher number guys, but he was still the All Pro.
Honestly, I think this is how AJ Brown and Devonta Smith get the most compliment because everybody says Jalen plays on a loaded team and anybody can win with those two.
Yeah, which you'll be hearing some of that coming up when camp gets. Nick was asked about that. He had a good answer. You'll enjoy it when we're able to talk about it. But yeah, that's always been a narrative that is kind of stupid to me because, and Nick has said this in the past as well. Like who won a Super Bowl without a good team?
Yeah. Kurt
But
Warner's a Hall of Famer with a loaded team. Deal with it.
Tom Brady had loaded teams. Joe Montana, whomever. Like who do you think's winning with these shitty teams?
Yeah, like John Elway, when he finally won a Super Bowl, you could go down the list and say, Ed McCaffrey, yeah, he's not a Hall of Famer, but he was pretty good. Rod Smith, he's pretty close to Hall of Fame. He's really good. Terrell Davis, he was a Hall of Fame. Everybody had these guys.
It's absurd. It's an absurd for anybody. Not only Jalen Hurts. You can't win a Super Bowl. In fact, more often there are lesser quarterbacks. The backups. And I want to bring up the backup in this town but say the Jeff Hostetler types. Trent Dilfer was a starter, but there's lesser quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl because they had great defenses or things like that. But no quarterback in the history of the game has ever won with a bad team. Ever.
I still laugh to this. I know we're going a little history here. Super Bowl 52 was on last night. So I'm on the treadmill. I said, I'm going to watch it. The Corey Clement play before the Philly special, after the 2-minute warning. You ever take notice of who was on the field when Clement had that big third down play?
If I did, I haven't recently, so I don't recall.
Mac Hollins, Trey Burton.
Yeah. I mean, the magic of that season. I mean, just think about Corey Clement.
What happened to him?
Corey Clement's the Tim Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles.
He really is. I was like, and that's the thing. Like everybody hated Collinsworth for that Super Bowl, but Chris Collinsworth was just amazed. He goes, "Look who's on the field for this football team. This is against one of the top defenses in the NFL, and they just took them to school on this play." I'm like, the Eagles just went balls to the wall on everything in that game.
Yeah, Doug deserves more credit, but
read his book, by the way. His book is tremendous.
Yeah, I like a lot of people, it amazes me to this day, don't realize what being aggressive meant for the Philadelphia Eagles because they were way ahead of the curve back then. Now teams have caught up to them a little bit. They're still one of the more aggressive teams, but obviously Detroit's gone even further.
Yeah.
There's a few teams, but back then they were on the forefront of it, and it really, really helped them. Really helped them.
Well, when the Philly special happened, they actually put a graphic up during the timeout. The Eagles had the most, and I remember writing a story about this. The Eagles had the most fourth down conversions and the most fourth down attempts by a team in NFL history, and they beat the 07 Patriots, which we all knew they were good. And this is when Pierce and Foles are going, "You want Philly," and Collinsworth goes, "I wonder what they have up their sleeve," and they're thinking okay, they got to create a 2-point conversion play, and that comes out. By the way, I love Al Michaels. Al Michaels is one of the greatest of all time. His call for that was so bad.
Yeah, Al's
He-
getting
he-
older.
He
I
was
do love
blind.
him,
Yeah,
man. He was
he
one
was
of my
blind.
favorites.
I think he was blindsided by the whole thing. Like what happened? I think he was like trying to describe the play, and then he just went, "Oh, and it's Foles," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah. I love that Tom dropped the ball too. They had a great play and Tom dropped it.
I think that was the most popular meme like that off season. Foles caught it and Tom didn't.
Yeah. Well, he did. He deserves credit. Yeah, that was a special team because, man, they probably talent-wise, the Eagles were the best team in football last year. So much better in
Oh yeah,
hindsight than the
like
Chiefs.
the 2014 when they kicked the 17 teams.
Oh,
ass.
yeah. 17, they had no right being in that game, never mind winning it with who they were rolling out there. You bring up some of the Corey Clement, Matt Collins. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I
Backup quarterback,
yeah.
Jason Peterson. Halapuli Bati is your left tackle. It's insane.
Their 02, like the 02 and 04 Eagles teams were better than the 17 Eagles team, but it just shows you that you can't. It's not an exact science of winning the Super Bowl unless you're the 2024 Eagles.
Jody and I had some knockdown dragouts over. I told him the 2022 team was much better than the 2017 team.
Oh, they
And
were. They blew out everybody.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. And 24 was better than both.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2024 team. I mean, it's funny. We actually talk about this at CBS. We're doing our like quarter century teams this week. Everybody goes, where did the 2024 Eagles team fit? And all the Eagles haters were like, they're not that good. And like our historian, Brian Diardo, who's really, really good at this stuff, he goes, I think you guys might want to relook at that.
Yeah, that's one of the
we've had Diardo on the show before. I think it's
one of the best teams of the modern generation. I tend not to go back to because the game has changed so much. Like I'm not going to compare them to the 72 Dolphins or because the game's completely different.
No.
But
it is kind of funny though. Like they're the first team to win with the number one defense and number one rushing game since like the 85 Bears. And there's that comparison. And there's only like 4 teams in NFL history that's won 18 games, and they're one of them. Like I know it's a longer season now, but 18 wins is 18 wins.
No, and that's why I don't even go back to the 85 Bears because it's like why? It's a different it's a completely different game.
Yeah.
But in this generation, in this game of football, in this era of football, it's one of the best teams ever.
Yeah. I think what's nuts about.
And by the way, the 2022 team is closer. I will say they're closer to the 2024 the team than people give them credit for. That was a very good team as well.
I agree.
Was a very good team as well.
Yeah, they're just with that 2024 team. I just keep thinking to myself, they would have won out if Jalen doesn't get hurt in that Commanders game. They would have won out.
Oh yeah.
Like
they might have. I don't know what he got hurt in Chicago in 2022.
Yeah, and he missed the Dallas game, and they almost won that game.
Yeah, I mean they were damn good that year too.
By
the way, everybody's keeping this thing under wraps. Nick better damn well be one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL.
Seriously, like at least $10 million a year.
$10 million.
Yeah, I know.
Lowballing them.
I know I'm lowballing them, but that's why I said at least.
I don't know what Eskin knows, but we had Eskin on the afternoon show. He said it's around 15. He has it on. It better be right or not. I'm just throwing it out there.
It better be 15 at least, and it should be more.
I think 15 would still be a little low.
By the way, is there a reason why
it should be? He should be the highest paid coach in the NFL.
Is there a reason why we just don't know coaches' salaries?
Yeah, it's not. They don't have to be filed, so it's easier to keep that. If there's no union,
yeah, that's true.
They don't. So if everybody keeps it quiet, you can keep it quiet. You can't keep you. Well, I guess you could, but it's really hard to keep player contracts because they're filed with the union and it becomes public. So coaches, not the same thing. So if they want to keep it quiet, they can keep it quiet. And so far, they've done a good job of that.
Everything. It's a multi-year extension.
Yeah. Well, it better be well over. I mean, at least 15 million. That's low balling. I mean, Andy makes 20. That's the report.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
believe.
Yeah, that's right. Andy makes.
It
20.
should be 21, to be honest.
Andy should. If I was Andy, I'd just keep coaching. He's
Well,
close.
I mean, I think he will until Andy's getting old, though. I mean, at some point you do age out.
Yeah,
One of the things I love about Andy Reid, he's 67. He's one of the most innovative coaches in the game. Like everybody talks about, oh, you got to do this, you got to. The 67-year-old guy does more innovative stuff than anybody else.
Yeah. By the way, John, my favorite, there's so many Andy Reid detractors. Not here, but there are Eagles fans that can't stand the guy for whatever reason. It's stupid. They're spoiled Eagles fans. I'll say it. I'll call it spade a spade. Oh, Andy Reid can't win without Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid the only reason he wins is because of Patrick Mahomes. Who drafted Patrick Mahomes? Who told the Chiefs to go up and get this guy? Shut up. You have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
And as you saw last year, having Patrick Mahomes is no guarantee for winning.
Oh,
you
by the way,
football team.
By the way, you're this same stupid fan mindset thinks Donovan McNabb is the shittiest quarterback ever. Okay, I'll play that game. If Donovan McNabb is the shittiest quarterback ever, then why did Andy Reid win so many goddamn games with him? Come on.
Yeah, well, if you don't, quarterback evaluations, bro. I talk about it all the time. And by the way, the most innovative defensive mind in the NFL is 66 years old.
Yeah.
Which is big fans,
By the way, he was at the Phillies game on Saturday, John.
He loves the Phillies.
He loves his Phillies. Loves his Phillies. Loves chatting about the Phillies. And then maybe you can get an Eagles question or two in there, but I'd rather just talk to Vic about the Phillies.
I think he'd rather have the Phillies win than the Eagles. I'm joking, but it's close.
I don't think you're too far off on that.
It's close.
Yeah, he won the Super Bowl. He's like, I don't really care. It doesn't change me. I'm the same guy. John, you might be right. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. He's definitely more of a Phillies fan than he is an Eagles fan.
Well,
that's the team he works for.
Well, yeah, you're in the midst of it. You're in the muck of it. I get it. The Phillies are his getaway, so it's a little bit different, from the grind of doing it. And I hope people understand. I'm joking. He wants the Eagles to win.
Him and Rob Thompson have the same personality too. That's what I think is hilarious. Like everything's like, okay, yeah, we lost. I'll say what I need to say, but yeah.
Well, I think you have to have a certain mindset to be a coach because you understand that bad things, adversity is going to happen, as Nick always says. It's going to happen, and you have to be able to handle it. So the worst thing you can do as a coach is to panic and act like the world is dry, ending.
I've acted like the world is ending to a couple players over the past year.
Yeah, so that's smart, but it's interesting. Somebody just brought it up, and you were bringing it up with talking about, and I brought it up talking about innovation. But there's somebody asked Coach Voss on Twitter, where's the true innovation been on defense in the NFL over the past couple of years? And he mentioned a couple of things. He mentioned Drew Pease, his Tampa 2 stuff. And he mentioned Fangio 3 times. It's like, it's amazing when you see, and I consider it my way. Like I'm not comparing myself to Big Fangio, but I'm supposed to be the old closed-minded guy. Like you got to be open-minded. And that's what Vic and Andy do better than anybody else on their respective sides of the ball. And it's ironic to me. Everybody well, you got to have the young coach. You got to have they're the innovators. And he also mentioned Flores, who does some stuff. Eberflus, who does some too high stuff that's pretty good. Not as a head coach, but as a defensive guy.
He definitely was he was content gold last year, Matt Eberflus.
Yeah, well, head coach, but he's a good defensive coach.
Yeah,
and I think unfortunately you'll see that. with the Cowboys this year. But he also mentioned Fangio's sight concepts and coverage, which we talked about earlier with Quinyon, and people not understanding. Like their man match concepts are insane to the point where people literally don't know it's not man coverage because it's so smooth. And half of it is, I shouldn't even say half of it. It's not even about the scheme. It's not even about coming up with the idea, although that's a big part of it. It's about being able to teach it and to teach it to young players. Like Sean Desai was trying to teach that to him the year prior. The same exact shit.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I was told it was the most complicated defense they ever learned. We're trying to learn.
That is the part that it's incredibly hard to get young people to understand that. And even Jonathan Gannon did it very well in 2022 because he was running the same scheme, for people that don't know. But they shit the bed in the biggest moment where they all miscommunicated. That never happened last year. You had a little, nobody's perfect. You had little spots, but for the most part, it was unbelievable.
I really wonder.
Yeah, those man match concepts are insane to the point where I'm like, if I were a head coach, to be honest, I'd be like, we're not doing this because this isn't going to work. Because these guys are going to fuck this up.
That's where I was going with that, by the way, John. Like, if you're you're just thinking to yourself, like, this is too complicated.
Yeah.
I don't know. It worked, and I think a lot of things worked for that team last year. Talent, like you said last week. What did Vic say? They gotta have talented players.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's very. I mean, he's been coaching for 40 years. He's probably been regarded as the best defensive coach for about 15, 20 years, maybe 15-ish. And he never won a Super Bowl till last year. It's hard. It's hard to win Super Bowls.
And he acted like it was no big deal too when he finally got one.
Well, because I think that's his mindset. It's like his mindset is to get my group of players better. I think that's the mindset of every coach, every good coach. Whatever you have, because you can't control what you have. That's going to be the GM or the head coach, depending on the situation. You can't fully control what you have, so your goal is to make what you do have the best it can possibly be, and that's his philosophy.
I thought the coolest thing was Vic didn't really show too much emotion after winning. So I remember when Chris Jenkins hit the buzzer beater when Jay Wright's first national championship. First thing he does, go over and shake the opposing coach's hand. Yeah, we won. The play worked. It didn't work in the Big East championship game. It worked in the national championship game because Archie didn't slip.
Well, and Vic got it. And when Vic was telling that story, he was talking about Dean Smith. He was like, people who don't, longtime college basketball fans remember Dean Smith, but for many years he was crapped upon because they never won the big one. They were always great, but they never won the big one. And then one year they got through, and Dean Smith was the one who said, "Yeah, I'm the same coach I was yesterday."
Wow, yeah, Michael Jordan too.
Yeah, well, that helped.
And James Worthy.
Actually, nobody knew Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. The old joke in those days was only Dean Smith is the only one that ever hold Michael Jordan under 20 points a game. That was the joke at the time. Nobody knew who Michael Jordan. They knew it was great. He was the third pick in the draft. But I think a lot of people shit on it was Portland and Houston.
Portland took Bowie.
Sam Bowie and Hakeem Olajuwon.
He got 2 titles.
Yeah, well, Hakeem, it was more Portland. Hakeem was great, but I think a lot of people shit on that in hindsight, but it was not strange at the time at all.
No.
If anything, the fact that Jordan was going 3 was the strange part.
John, you're old enough to remember the days when Michael Jordan couldn't win the big one.
Yeah, well, many years. Yeah.
Yeah, I was too young for that. I got into basketball. The Sixers were god awful. I remember they drafted Jerry Stackhouse. That's my first year remembering Sixers basketball.
Yeah, I was excited about Jerry
I
Stackhouse.
was too.
I'm embarrassed by that.
They had Jerry Stackhouse and Allen Iverson together for.
Well, a lot of people were making because he was a North Carolina guy. A lot of people were making that comparison, the Jordan Stackhouse comparison.
Oh, Jesus.
Harold Miner was another guy everybody thought would be the next Jordan. Yeah. But yeah, so Dean, got a lot of crap for not completely, but he had so many good players.
Phil Jackson, so many good players.
That series is what the modern today's NBA Finals is what 2-2, right? It's going into
2-2, yeah.
Game. By the way, you know how long
Indiana lost that, man. They had it.
Yeah.
They're cooked now.
You guys know how long it's taken to play 5 games in this series?
I know, it's absurd. I hate
like
it.
12 days. Like, come on. But you play
it.
back-to-backs in the regular season, like it's
all TV, man. What TV wants, TV gets.
Joel Embiid would be great if he ever made an NBA Finals. He has all this time off.
Don't get me started. He'd find a way to get
Joel Embiid not making an NBA Finals.
Can you imagine Joel Embiid getting hurt in an NBA Finals game?
He'd find a way to get the flu in June. Trust me. Yeah.
Sixers might trade.
The height of flu season, June. He'd find a way.
Well, with this weather, I wouldn't blame him.
That's true. The weather has not been great.
Yeah, it felt like an April game at the Phillies yesterday. It was so weird.
All right, let's get it back to the Eagles. Offense. We haven't talked offense. I do think there's this perception that it's amazing coming off last year, but it's like, well, there's nothing to worry about with the offense because 10 of 11 starters are back, and they're so good, they're so talented. And all the questions are on the defensive side of the ball. But we alluded to it a little bit with AJ and the passing and comment, yada, yada, yada. What is, if they're eighth again, eighth, is that acceptable? As long as they win, I guess it's acceptable. Yeah. But so let's say they make it to the NFC Championship game, but lose. What is the perception of this offense if it's eighth again?
Probably they'll say it's not good enough. I would assume just because of the talent.
So why is it good enough when it's eighth and they win? Just because they won, right? No other explanation.
That's always been my indicator. Are you winning?
Yeah, that's it, right? There's nothing else.
I didn't have a problem with how they were doing things last year. Saquon Barkley was the hot hand, and you rode it, and Jalen needed to make the throws he needed to make when you asked him to make them, and the defense was that good, you could do that.
On the judgment of the offense than the offense does.
But what I'm saying is, like you say, I don't have a problem. But did you have a problem after the Carolina game? Did you have a problem after the Packers postseason game, after the Rams postseason game? Like I always bring up the Rams. If Jalen Carter doesn't make those 2 pass rushes and they don't win the Super Bowl, aren't people shitting on this offense pretty harshly?
It's tough question, right? I went by the wins, but look, I got to take the Rams game out of here. The snow, like, you weren't going to pass the ball in the snow. Matthew Stafford could, but Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer.
He is. He's a very good quarterback, but he's also
But he also fumbled. He also fumbled in that game.
30. Well, there are a bunch of fumbles. Carter fumble. He had the peanut punch. Who else? I think Zach had one. Zach made a play every game down the stretch.
He really did.
Every single game.
He found a way to make a play. Yeah, look, I thought Jalen did what he had to do that Green Bay game. I didn't think he was that great in the Green, but he made the plays he needed to make. And to me, I just judge quarterbacks differently. Do you turn the damn ball over? If you don't, I think it's a good game. I don't care how many yards you throw for.
But here's my issue. First of all, obviously turnovers are huge. So if you take care of the football, you're in good shape. But you also have to be in a position, like they were very cautious last year as an offense as a whole. Post bye week, so week 6 on.
I honestly think Jalen's turnovers are starting to get into his head, and they toned it back, and I think that's what got his confidence back per se. He'll never admit that, but
don't you need a better balance? Like they got to be a little bit more.
Oh, they definitely got to be balanced this year. I'm not disagreeing there. In fact, I kind of want them to throw more this year and take some rain off Saquon.
But even the balance as far as ball security, like you don't think they were too cautious last year?
They definitely were too cautious. You and I talked about that in the moment that we thought they were too cautious.
Yeah. See, I don't know, but they won. And see that breaks everything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And they have to be smart enough, and I think they are because Nick has talked about it. Like they're not getting caught up in we won, so this is acceptable. At least he pays lip service to that.
Yeah, I remember like so many people talk. I mean, John, you and I talked about this. Well, if Xavier Legette don't drop that pass, we're not having this conversation. But he did drop that pass, so I mean, CJ admitted he should have caught it. It is what it is.
Yeah, that game. Woof, they lose that game.
That was a weird game. Whoa. I thought that was going to be their bad loss, and then they were going to win out. If I thought that was going to be like, it's a turn point. Like, okay, they got away with one after they're probably winning their best game of the season in Baltimore.
I always get that. I'm because you're right that like he catches that ball and he should have caught the ball, and the Eagles are going to lose that game. And people always go, well, yeah, but if Saquon had caught the ball against early, what game was that early?
Atlanta game.
They're going to win that game. And I'm like, yeah, right. You're right. Yeah, good player. I said it at the moment. Yep. I said it on the post-game show with Zander. There's a perfect play call. People are shitting on the play. I'm like, what are you talking about? The guy's wide open in the flat.
Yeah, he dropped it. And he owned up to it.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm very consistent through it all. But yeah, that my whole point is I'm not gonna panic because he's typically not gonna drop that football.
I was
on the other hand, you should understand that most receivers are going to catch that ball. And to Nick's point, when he talks about just because you win doesn't make it acceptable, at least when you're trying to get better.
Yeah. And that was the game with the passing comments, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was.
Which, by the way, we're also coming from Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, and Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith.
Yeah, Jordan Mailata gave a great answer. Lane John gave a great answer. Yeah. It was Jalen even said it.
Yeah, Jalen said it. Devontae said it. Everybody said it.
I mean, the next week, Jalen gave me my favorite quote of yours. That's what you all wanted to see, huh?
Yeah,
that was your favorite quote of the year, Jeff?
That was my favorite. Well, no, that's up there. If I had to pick top 3 Eagles, and Saquon knows what number 1 is, because during the Super Bowl, I remember he was him and I were kind of smiling at it. One of the younger reporters, I think it was like one of the college kids, they asked me my favorite play this year, and like he kind of saw me like smiling. He said, I want to say to run the snow against the Rams, but then I remembered I jumped over a guy backwards.
I feel like the run in the snow would be more memorable for him.
I said to him, like he was leaving the podium, I said, by the way, do you remember who you jumped over? He's like, no. I think he did, but
the jump over backwards is such like a quick play that happens like in the moment.
He doesn't even know what he's going. Yeah, I mean, I believe
the long run. You can kind of take it in a little bit. You're running 60 yards in the snow. I feel like that'd be
he
more.
He himself on the helmet twice.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a more memorable play.
Yeah, I still think he was impressed. I remembered when that wasn't the first time he jumped over a guy backwards. He did it against Iowa in 16. He goes, well, that one wasn't as choreographed. I remember he just saw a guy coming. He's like, I better get out of the way. And it just happened to be he jumped backwards. Then
I
again,
got a
yeah.
kick. People thought that the EA Sports thing that he was doing it again and again
Oh yeah.
and levitating in the air.
I'm like,
If you
yeah.
watch the video, he like sits up there for like
Yeah.
4 seconds. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
guys, he's on strings there, I think.
Hey,
What
hey,
a-
hey, hey,
What
guys,
an athlete! It's almost like he's
hey,
levitating.
hey, guys, this is how they do in the movies, by the way.
Yeah, correct. He is a great athlete, too. But yeah, you can't levitate.
What are you? What are you with this Checo dude? Gosh, you're impressive.
He is. He is impressive. Gosh, he's impressive. Very humble too, which I'm always surprised by when you get somebody of that talent level.
Yeah, everybody seems to say that about Saquon, which is a good thing. I feel like they have a lot of those guys on the Eagles, kind of.
I remember when they signed him, I said, his off the field impact's going to be just as big as his on the field, just because I knew what he meant to that Giants locker room. Like, look, there's any issues in the Eagles locker room, they're gone with him.
Well, I can see that. Well, Jeff, what do you think he's going to do on the field this year? I mean, he did 2,000 last year, 2,500 total. I'm not saying he's going to do that again, but how much does the offense change? How much does it stay the same this year coming up in 25?
I mean, no running back who's ever ran for 2,000 yards has ran for 1,500 the next year. It's going to be tough. I mean,
is that right? None of them have ever ran.
None of them have ever done it. Barry Sanders ran for 1,490 some at like 31, and then he retired. So, again, it's going to be tough, but I believe he takes care of his body, and I believe the Eagles will take care of his body enough. But again, can't predict injuries.
I think if he doesn't rush for 1,500 yards, it's because he missed a couple games.
That's how I feel. I mean, I'm sure he's going to make that call to Derrick Henry and a couple other people about what they did. It's doing the game. Everything this guy looks at. He's like, okay, what can I do to change the narrative? Or what can I do to rewrite the history books? It's just the way he is. It's the way he's geared.
Yeah, he is a student of the game, which is rare. Like a lot of guys don't know even who Barry Sanders is.
This guy will talk to you about Barry Sanders for 2 hours till they kick you out of the locker room. And even when they kick you out of the locker room, he still wants to talk about it. It's just the way he is. It's
he is impressive. We joke about it, but he is impressive on the field, off the field. I always say it's very rare when somebody lives up to their reputation. He surpassed it, I think, big as well, which is again indicative of a special season when you have guys who perform whatever their job is. To the level they have, and they have so many good players as a whole. But it's hard to repeat, just like it's hard to go 2,000 back to back.
It's never been done.
It's hard to repeat because everything has to align.
I'll go into the crystal ball here. Say he does run for 2,000 again and just said, I'm done. I'm out. He's a Hall of Famer, right?
I think he's already a Hall of Famer. We had this discussion last week.
Yeah.
I think he's already a Hall of Famer. Like right now.
Yeah, do you agree with that? You think he's already a Hall of Famer?
You know what? I think he needs to pad him up a bit, but if he quit right now, I'm going to have a hard time arguing it.
He just set the all-time record for rushing in one season. He's a Hall of Famer.
And we still talk about Terrell Davis's 98 season. By the way, 97, he had 500 touches. 517 touches in 97. He goes back the next year and has 498 in 98 and was better. So I don't really worry about the touches that much.
Well, I worry about them long term. Maybe not immediate, but eventually it's going to.
Well, it did catch up to TD.
Earl Campbell is my guy. That's my favorite running back of all time. That's my Barry Sanders. But Earl Campbell, if you look at it, lasted like 4 years. Yeah. Because he just beat the shit out of everybody. He's the most physical running back who ever lived. But in the moment, you're saying, this is unbelievable. Take some time, everybody. Watch some YouTube highlights on Earl Campbell.
Phillips used Earl Campbell to get his team to the AFC Championship game.
The amount of touches year after year after year. But he only had a very short shelf life because he just destroyed his body. So it does take an impact on you.
You know,
It
it
may
is
not
funny.
be
Like,
immediate, but it happened to Terrell Davis. He had a very short span. When Terrell Davis was up for the Hall of Fame, that was the argument. Did he play long enough? Did he have enough longevity? And ultimately, they decided, well, he was so good at the height that they put him in.
I mean, the guy had a migraine in the Super Bowl and ran for 150 in 3 games.
Yeah.
Like, and I talked to him about that once. He said, "Dude, I was in a lot of pain. It was not fun, especially after you got hit."
And that was I always bring up when we talk about the misevaluation of quarterbacks. John Elway was a great superstar MVP level quarterback when Denver.
He was Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's a bad comparison, but he basically had the box office level of Lamar Jackson at the time.
Yeah, he was a great player. He was amongst the best players in the NFL when they were losing Super Bowls. When they won, he was average to below average as an aging quarterback, but Terrell Davis carried them to Super Bowl championships. When it's over, nobody remembers. Well, Elway's got 2.
It was funny too, because I still remember Super Bowl 32. Terrell Davis has this incredible game. John Mobley, Steve Atwater are having these incredible games. And everybody remembers John Elway's
helicopter
run. Yeah, the helicopter run, and this one's for John. That's what everybody remembers.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's nuts. And then the next year, John throws for 300. By the way, what a way to go out. Like, we were blessed in the late 90s. Michael Jordan makes a game-winning shot, has a game-winning steal, basically scores all the Bulls points in the final minute for their 6 year. And then John Elway says, "Yeah, I'm going to go throw for 300 and 2 touchdowns in my final game in the Super Bowl." Which, by the way,
and it's crazy. Peyton Manning, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, his second Super Bowl, he was brutal that season.
He was
brutal. Yeah, he was awful. Awful. Ben Roethlisberger's first Super Bowl, maybe the worst Super Bowl ever. Individual performance.
And he
Nobody
won.
remembers.
Well, they remember he won, though.
Yeah. That's why quarterback evaluation is broken.
Oh, Eli's got 2. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
Eli's a Hall of Famer. You know it. He's going in.
Why?
He wasn't first ballot, so you guys at least get that.
That was a win for me. At least he wasn't first ballot.
That was a win.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Xander. I think he's going in. I really do. But first ballot Hall of Famer. Get the F out of here.
He might not be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but you do agree, John. He's going in.
I've said I've said he's going in, but he's not. He shouldn't. He shouldn't.
Yeah, he's going in. It's
more of his surname. People forget Jim Plunkett didn't go in. So they will keep guys out. Jim won 2. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he won 2.
If he was Eli McNabb, he wouldn't be going.
But if Jim Plunkett's name was Manning, he'd be in.
Yeah,
that's part of it.
Feel like Jeff, don't you feel like if McNabb had won 1, he'd be in?
Yes, absolutely. I think he'd be in. I think he was a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback by the time he quit.
Yeah, me too.
So do I. I think Randall Cunningham should be in.
I do too. I've always said that.
But Randall to me is a little bit different because I think his impact on the game is a big part of it as well.
Everybody says it's big, and I'm
he changed the way the game was played a lot, Randall. So I think his impact on the game adds to his legacy. Plus, people forget how good he was when he won the MVP, when he left. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah, everybody's like, Michael Vick changed the game. Like, Randall Cunningham changed the game before Michael Vick did.
Do you guys think A.J. Brown's headed to the Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
I did. He's on that pace. I mean, he really is. There's a lot of guys on this Eagles team that a lot of Eagles fans are going to be going to Canton, in a few years.
Well, I think you got Lane Johnson. I think Jordan Mailata will probably be.
He's on that pace. He's on that pace.
Yeah, Jordan Mailata. That's crazy.
As far as guys who are already in, Lane's in.
Kelsey will get in. Kelsey's not here anymore, but
Kelsey. Now Fletcher's interesting. I think Fletcher's a Hall of Famer, but I think he's borderline for most people.
But they might put that Super Bowl in the. I know.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominique brings up a good one. Let's call a spade a spade. Jalen Hurts is on a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Oh, he is.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Dominique is not wrong about that.
No, not at all.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if he gets another one, there's really going to be a conversation.
Lock it in. That's what I mean. Lock it in. With this type of winning percentage, if he keeps that even
close to where if he keeps this winning percentage up for like a decade,
I don't know if he will that, but even if he keeps it close in the next decade, I think he's all.
I mean, we gotta really put this into perspective here. Like, this is the Patrick Mahomes era of football. And you got Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. And who's the guy who got one in the Patrick Mahomes era?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts.
And by the way, y'all played him in 2 Super Bowls, Jalen Hurts over.
Oh, yeah. Jalen Hurts is the first quarterback to have 7 total touchdowns.
And we're going right back to Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
But that's how they determine this, John. You know that.
That's true. And that's why quarterback evaluation is broken. Now, Jalen's on.
Don't you put some stuff? I'm not saying like what you're saying. Is
what I'm saying, Jalen's on a Hall of Fame trajectory because of his career, not just because he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I agree with John. Yeah, it's.
But that adds to it. Like, don't you got to put some?
It adds to the voting, as Jeff says. Yes, they put way too much emphasis on who wins Super Bowls.
Yeah, but quarterback work I think is just different because I do put an onus on like who are the players that play, are reach the pinnacle in the hardest moments to reach the pinnacle.
Well, that's how McNabb got judged. Everybody loved McNabb until he.
But I agree with John. It's not far, but doesn't that have to matter for something like the pinnacle of the game, the pinnacle of the year? Jalen plays his best football. I think that matters for something.
Well,
I'm not saying
even in the postseason. He's won 6 postseason games.
Yeah, 4 last year, more than Dak.
That's that part of it. I've said pretty consistently and still say today that he was the best player on the field in Super Bowl 57.
Yes, definitely.
No, he wasn't the best player on the field in Super Bowl. That was Milton Williams or Josh Sweat. Pick your poison.
Yeah,
but could have been Cooper. Who knows? It was somebody on defense. Defense as a whole. Can we give it to the defense as a whole? But he was very good. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he was better in the Super Bowl he lost. I just brought up the guys. Elway wasn't good in the Super Bowl in his 2 Super Bowl wins. Roethlisberger had one of the worst. Like, how do you gauge Patrick Mahomes? He's been to 5. 2 of them were 2 of his worst games ever.
It's crazy.
By the way, one of the ones he won was a terrible game for him as well.
If you look at
the Rams, he didn't play well.
If you look at Patrick Mahomes' Super Bowl stats, they're not even close to his postseason stats.
No, they're not great.
What I'm saying, see, like you guys all know this, but everybody defaults to, well, he won a Super Bowl.
Well, John, as we talk about everything in football, man, there's so much context. I think different player has different context.
It's so weird, right? I love when Cowboys fans just shit on Hurts when he is literally the modern day Troy Aikman. All he does is win and play well in the biggest of moments.
You're obsessed with Cowboy fans, Jeff.
They're stupid. They are. Like, I am obsessed with how stupid people can be.
Well,
I mean, you know why you're bringing this up.
You're becoming a curmudgeon too fast. I need to get over there and slow your.
I'm ruining Jeff. Jeff's too young to be as curmudgeonly as me.
Yes, he is. Come on, Jeff. We got to slow this rate, brother. Sports.
You know what? John is saying this. John saw my tweet yesterday about that stupid Dak Prescott fan saying Happy Father's Day to the NFC East, who Dak Prescott has a 33-8 record against. And I'm like, the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls in the Dak Prescott era, and they've been to more Super Bowls than Dak Prescott has
playoff games last year than Dak has won in his 10-year career. I mean, that's where I do put some on when the lights are bright. Like, how do you have 10 years? You had 3, I think, number 1 offenses or 2, whatever it was.
By the way, Dak's had loaded
2
teams.
Playoff wins. Jalen won 4 playoff wins last year.
I mean, you know me better than anybody from talking to me every day, Zander. I believe in, and Nick Sirianni talks about it even more than me. Constantly calls it the ultimate team game. I mean, I do not judge football by quarterback versus quarterback. I never have. I never will. It has nothing to do with Jalen Hurts. It has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. There are individual. Like when they lost that playoff game to Green Bay, and he did not hand the football to the official. And they probably weren't going to win the game anyway. They would have had still a 20-something yard touchdown pass on the last play. But just the nature of not understanding as a quarterback in this league that the official has to spot the football and the clock is running down. That to me is unforgivable. Like that's the kind of shit
that was the San Francisco game,
you
right?
always bring that play up.
Yeah.
I love that.
That is unacceptable.
You know what? I've told Tony Romo this. He was better than Dak. He was.
Who? Say that again?
Tony Romo. I always told that, like, I know.
Tony was very good.
Yeah, I thought Tony was
Dak's
a better
very
quarterback.
good. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument for Tony. Yeah.
My guy who writes for the Cowboys now, Patrick Walker, I remember when we were together at CBS, he wrote a big column in 2016 when Romo was still on the team, and he said, I may be overreacting here. But he said, I think they could win a Super Bowl if they put Tony Romo back in the starting lineup. If they make him the quarterback. And he got roasted for it.
Like, here's the thing and Patrick's the best example now. Because he's made 5 of them. And as I said, in 2 of them he lost. He was awful. Basically awful because they couldn't block anybody in both of them. Couldn't block Tampa, couldn't block Philadelphia. And there are other games in the Super Bowl where he wasn't great. If you go to 5 Super Bowls, if Jalen Hurts is lucky to go to 5 Super Bowls, he's probably going to have a bad game at some point.
Yeah, you would think, right?
I don't know. I'd be betting against the trend, betting against the odds if I bet
I think it's more impressive going to 5 Super Bowls.
Yeah, so do I. I bring up Buffalo.
5 is impressive. Yeah.
I bring up Buffalo's one of the most impressive teams ever to me. The Mark,
because they went the 4 straight.
Yeah, that is so much harder than just spiking up and being the Giants and winning 1 because you get hot at the right time.
By the way,
We've had Jim Kelly on the afternoon show, boy. I tell you what, he wishes he won one. I know that. I know.
They all do.
We all do. I'm not saying they don't.
But that is one legacy. No one's ever been the 4 straight.
Yeah, nobody. That's what I'm saying. There's 59 Super Bowl winners. There's 1 team that went to 4 straight. 1 in the history of football.
Tom Brady broke everything. I remember when John Elway retired. John Elway's the GOAT because he went to 5. Well, Tom Brady went to 10. He broke the mold.
Yeah, well, Tom did break.
Mahomes is on a faster pace than Tom. I mean, he's got 5 in his first 8 years in the league. Right?
Yeah,
he's going into year 9, right?
I think so. Patrick, I think Patrick is headed for some downtimes. I do.
I do too. Remember, Brady had a 10-year layoff. Between.
I mean, they still were winning during that 10-year layoff.
I know, but
I'll tell you what. If Jalen Hurts keeps up what he's doing from just a winning standpoint, he's in the conversation for the greatest quarterback of all time.
I agree with that.
But I also don't think it's possible.
By the way, if Lamar
because it's a cyclical league and the talent's not always going to be
right,
and there are going to be years. There are going to be years where it's going to be a struggle.
By the way, if Lamar does happen to get one, he enters that conversation.
I think Lamar's going to get one. I really do.
I bet on Baltimore every year. So
I'm excited.
One of the years you're going to be right. I mean, good enough.
I keep telling my guys at One Bills Live. I tell Steve Tasker all the time. You guys know you're going to get one at some point.
Right now, I'm Baltimore for the Super Bowl again on the AFC.
I'm taking Bills this year in the AFC. I got Bills winning the AFC this year.
I got Baltimore. I got Baltimore. Bills AFC championship.
You guys keep riding Baltimore. I'm going to go Bills this year.
1 year, the stars are going to align.
1 year, Mark Andrews isn't going to drop a pass.
Oh, bullshit. Lamar had all those turnovers. Me and John just had this debate.
And by the way, if Lamar does win one, he's got the same thing with Vic Fangio. Same player the day before as the day one.
Yeah, but you do agree that if Lamar wins one, the way that his career is remembered will be drastically different than if he does not.
Of course, but I'm saying that that's a fan media perspective. I'm saying, like, people in the league know what Lamar Jackson is. That does not change. That does not change.
Well, I think everybody knows how talented he is. I mean, he's one of the most talented football players I've ever laid eyes on. Is
Every
Lamar Jackson.
quarterback has won 2 MVPs, has a Super Bowl. Just remember that.
It should have won 3. Should have won.
Yeah, he
last
should have won
year.
this year. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was better
Nah,
last year
Josh
than he
should have
was
won.
this MVP.
I had Josh taking it, so I'm.
Nah,
I'm
that was a.
sticking
I
with
love. I
Josh.
love Josh Allen, man. I think they gave him one. I really do.
Josh is my favorite quarterback, probably my favorite quarterback in the league.
Well, no,
I think Lamar.
He's a little bit. I said it. He's a
Reckless,
little
he
bit
is.
too reckless for me. A little bit too reckless. I was just looking. Lamar's passer rating last year was 119.6.
It's insane. He
Yeah,
threw
119.6.
What was it? 41 touchdowns and 4 picks.
41 touchdowns, 4 picks, 4,000 yards passing,
Lamar probably should have won.
915
Yes.
yards rushing. And the Eagles did a good job.
But by the way, I do have to laugh at this, just from talking to all these quarterbacks over the years. Josh Allen's got great personality. Lamar's got a great personality. Patrick Mahomes got a great personality. Jalen does too. He's just more reserved. It's just he's built different than the other. It's nothing bad, nothing good. Just they're all different.
Did you guys see that video that went around of Nicole Lynn talking about when Jalen got his extension?
Yes.
I thought that was a pretty. And again, I don't know if I can't fact check it. I don't know if Nicole.
Well, she said that before. Yeah, that's not the first time she said it, but
yeah, I thought it was pretty dope. I mean, just cool to hear that type of insight from an agent. But and for those who missed it, I would encourage you to go and watch it. It's on my X account. You can follow me at Zander Krause. I'll retweet it again. But she basically is just like, I had to explain to him the way that the cap works so that he knew becoming the highest paid player in the NFL did not mean he wasn't going to be able to keep AJ and Devontae and some of these other guys.
Money is nice. Championships are better.
I think that's
one
of my favorite things about him, Jeff. He says what he believes, and he believes what he says, and he actually practices what he says. Which
you know what? I got a bunch of good Jalen quotes.
And now Jalen's the 11th highest paid quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I think he dropped out of the top 10.
Hey, John, what is your favorite Jalen quote? He's got some good ones.
I'd have to go through the T-shirt.
I had a purpose before people had an opinion.
That was a fire quote. Come on,
I'm not a big fan of the T-shirt slogans.
That one was better than "Is this what you wanted to see?" Like that one pissed me off because I'm like, Jalen, why do you?
Cares what we say
because he reads this stuff. He knows.
I know, but that's why to me that wasn't my favorite quote at all.
He let his guard down. That's what I love about it.
Approval from me or John or Jeff or Deshay or Steve or anybody in the chat. Fuck everybody. Go in and do what you do, and that's why I thought he gave
my favorite Jalen moments are when he gets off script and we get him talking a little bit. Those are my favorite Jalen moments.
I like when I'm telling you, I tell Nick Castellanos is just like Jalen Hurts, man. You better come prepared when you ask him a question.
Yeah, he's going to ask back questions.
Yeah, it's fun. Nick gets a lot of bad questions, and yesterday I gave him a good one. Everybody likes to ask Nick Castellanos about what he did. Well, I went the other way. I'm like, I was doing a story on Otto Kemp, and I knew Nick will give me a good answer if I ask it right. And I asked it right. And he just goes, like he sighed because he had to think about how he wanted to answer. And he gave me an awesome answer. And of course, the content creators on there, oh, Nick Castellanos hate that question. I'm like, yeah, I actually really like that question. It's just, he just didn't give his typical 2-3 word answer.
Yeah, I mean, from a press conference standpoint, I don't think Jalen's great. Not that it matters. I mean, I think he's too guarded.
Yeah, he's saving.
Word salad.
That's saving. I mean, that's it's like the
poison.
Wait, Jeff.
Devontae can open up.
Wait, Jeff. Just to answer it, we got it. This is such an honorable mention. I didn't walk through the fire.
There we go. Good. That's a good one. Yeah,
that was a good Jalenism right there.
That's a good one. I like that. Good pick. Yeah. Or you don't know what you don't know.
Now that I know how much John loves these, Jeff, we're gonna have to do a segment next week. We're gonna go through all the Jalen
top 10 Jalen quotes.
I'm not. We're running out of time, brother. We appreciate all the time you give us as always, man. We love talking to you. You've become such a staple on this show, Jeff. Our viewers love you. We love you. It's so great talking to you every week. Your final thoughts, brother, on this Monday, June 16th edition. Jeff, we're like 5 weeks out from training camp, brother. The offseason flew by this year.
Man, we're in peak off season. We're talking best Jalen quotes, and if
Yeah.
Jalen's going to the Hall of Fame, man, Jaire Alexander's going to be.
You know, I love lists. Best Jalen quotes lists.
There you go. List it up, baby.
And by the way, have you guys gotten in the whole Chris Sims ranking Jalen wherever the heck?
Yeah,
we
talked
that.
about
We
it.
talked about
Yeah.
that a little.
I don't think he was all pace. He's about 10th last year. That's where he belonged. Over the whole season.
I think it's because of, again, like I said to John earlier, it's because of who said it.
Yeah. Well, it goes all the way back to when he didn't have him. The 1 year he didn't have him in the top 40, which was absurd.
Yeah, that was absurd.
But the recent years he was a little bit low after 2022. I think he had him 7th. He deserved to be higher after 2022. He had him 10th this year. I don't know. PFF had him 12th. I mean,
I do like when Sims, and again, they don't put this on the memes, or the engagement things like for Instagram. But Chris Sims says in the article, "Look, I'm not judging them based on Super Bowls. I'm judging them based on 2024 performance." So it's like, okay, well,
the whole season performance. That's where he should be there.
And in the article, I believe Chris Sims said, "Look, he deserves a lot of credit. Let that team to the Super Bowl." Like
I didn't think it was that bad at all, but
I think people get too upset over certain things.
Well, and I say about every list, if you don't like one list, just go to the next one.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff, the way you started it, you forget the way you started the segment. You were ready to explode on Phillies fans the first minute that we had.
I always explode on Phillies fans.
I know you do. You've been exploding on them since the season started, Jeff. I mean, come on, you got to give them some slack a little bit here.
I don't have to give anybody some slack. You didn't watch this team until October of 2022.
The team is like a seesaw, Jeff. The fans are like the team. They're a seesaw, man. They're up and down.
You mean it's like baseball? You suck one week and you're great the next. I can't explain how they lost.
Baseball is 100. Everybody has slumps. Everybody comes out of it. If you win 100 games, you're good.
Yeah.
If you win 90 to 95, you're solid. You're in the conversation.
They're 42 and 29. They're on pace to win 96.
Yeah, 42 and 29. That's what they.
That's good.
Yeah, and look, do I think they're good enough to win a World Series? Not right now, no. But they're also not making trades today. I don't want to hear, "Oh, the Giants trade for Devers." I'm like, well, the Red Sox are stupid. So, they're dumb. They just wanted to get rid of him.
The Red Sox just swept my Yankees, and they traded their best player.
Oh, by the way, Aaron Judge had the most Ks ever for a Yankees player in 3-game series against the Red Sox.
He always strikes out. He strikes out all the time.
It's
the only 400 hitter who strikes out.
I know. It's amazing.
He's probably down to 380-ish now, 370-ish. He's in the slump.
Is he on that good of a pace right now?
Oh yeah, he was at 400 for a while.
By the way, right there, up on your right corner, Zander, there is the baseball fan version of Vic Fangio. People watched John McMullen during Phillies Yankees last year, and Jazz Chisholm has a big home run. You wouldn't even know it. We can look at John McMullen.
That's right. 378. And that's in a slump. That's what Judge is hitting right now.
He's insane.
378.
I love it.
I heard, and the Phillies need a left fielder. You want to just give him away for peanuts?
Yeah, he's I'm going to say this bold. He's one of the greatest right-handed hitters, because most great hitters are left-handed for whatever reason. One of the greatest right-handed hitters that ever lived. It's time to say that. But he will never get that credit until he does it in the World Series, where he consistently shits the bed when he gets there.
Yeah, well, reminds me of the quarterback conversation. I know it's different. I know baseball is different.
Yeah, baseball is such an individual sport.
I know it is. It's really, John's right about that. It's the one true statistical sport. It really is. But Jeff, we appreciate it, brother, man. Great stuff as always. Make sure you guys follow Jeff at Jeff Kerr CBS. Read all his work at cbssports.com. We appreciate you doing it, brother. As always, like I said, you're loved here in the Birds 365 community. We can't thank you enough. Jeff,
am I really loved or am I polarizing?
Well, I think you're both. I think that's what happens. You come in and you become.
I specifically
polarizing and then-
wanted to get Jeff on today to criticize people for keep talking about Jaire Alexander.
I'm
I
already
will,
sick
Jeff,
of
here's
it.
my one knock on you right now. Your
Go ahead.
curmudgeon status is exploding right now. It's like Mount Vesuvius. It exploded this week, dude. Your curmudgeonness, I can't keep up with it,
You
Jeff.
just bring up Saquon. He loves Saquon. So
Yeah,
I got to
exactly.
be the opposite. I got to be like the opposite of curmudgeon because you two are both the ultimate.
I'll tell you what, Xander. You go in the Phillies clubhouse, you will not see me being a curmudgeon when I'm talking to players.
All right, so it's just Birds 365. We bring
No, it's not that either. It's just you get tired of hearing stupid shit.
Yeah,
Yes.
I hear you. All right, Jeff. Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
Yeah, see you guys.
All right,
thanks, bud.
Jeff Kerr joining us here on Birds.
Yeah, I like that phrasing. You get tired of hearing stupid shit. That's correct. Jeff
And
is
you
correct.
and him both. You and him both have that take.
Yeah.
A lot of stupid shit said in the world, John. It's just the reality of the world.
Well, and you get when you hear it day in and day out, it gets tiring. It gets tiring.